Hi everyone, welcome to video 41, Heaven at 15%. Yesterday was 16, but I jumped the gun, so it was supposed to be 14, now it's 15. So anyway, we're going to follow the days of July to start out our completion of 100% heavenly, 100% direct dominion. And I believe it's real, I really do. That would be the main question, probably. Is this for real? And my answer is it's absolutely real. And God really is serious about saving all mankind. And it has been going on for a long time. And it has to end at some point. God has to be finished at some point. And so it's up to us, because Reverend Moon was here already, lived his whole life on earth, now is in the spirit world, and is proceeding to make all the adjustments necessary to make heaven on earth. That's my 100% belief. So thanks for joining me. Hope you're having a great day, or you had a good day, or you're about to have a good day. And thank you for being here. And so yeah, let's get into some, let's discover what video 41 Heaven at 15% means. 15, because today's the 15th of July. Yeah, so I'm excited. There's you know, a lot of the reason heaven is not here is because people weren't told it is that season of that era has arrived. And when people believe that, then it will be done deal, because the era arrived. That was the first necessity. When, you know, just like when in Jesus' time, the era had arrived for heaven to come on earth, but he was not welcomed, and he couldn't find a follower that could stay, that he needed. The kind of, you know, everybody did the best they could. You know, there's no reason in punishing or blaming, or, you know, but Jesus was, the devil got over that. The devil had a foundation was not broken by Jesus and his followers. And the reason, how could a foundation of a whole world full of people following the evil ways, or believing in that evil is good, or that evil is normal, or that this is God's way is evil, you know, that evil is actually God's way or something? It's only because, and one person has to do it to start with, and Reverend Moon did that. It's because someone has to go through and live according to God's way, no matter how they are treated. And like Reverend Moon said, he said this is nothing special to him. It's what he felt. That's what his conscience told him to do. That's all it was. And that's all we have to do. Of course, as he said, our lives are much easier. We have, you know, to him, our lives are like, you know, you could do it blindfolded with your eyes tied, with your hands tied behind your eyes tied behind your back. That would be tricky. Blindfolded with your hands tied behind your back, you know, and so it's encouraging that, because him thinking that way makes it seem like, wow, we can definitely do this. And then, you know, through the support that I've had, I stopped believing that I was a failure in life, as I kind of, or, you know, it's not that I really thought that I was a failure in life, so much as that I thought, what did I think? Anyway, I was pretty excited when I met the Unification Church, because that changed the whole scheme of things. I definitely didn't think I could have anything to do with creating a better world, you know, before 2009, when I was 56 years old. But now, God is having his way. God is having his way had his way with Reverend Moon, and is having his way now with the followers of Reverend Moon, because it's up to us to complete his work on earth. I mean, carry his completion on his individual and family level into the world and the cosmic level. Yeah. So Satan's already defeated. It's just a matter of time before heaven is solid and absolutely, we won't see prisons and police and murder and war and all that. It's just that stuff has nothing to do with God at all. But we were fooled. No one is to blame. We did the best we could, and we're still doing that. So heaven will come as our focus shifts to only goodness, only good things. And yeah, it's very helpful. And to think it's this year. Imagine, I wonder what kind of celebration it's going to, I mean, if you can imagine, let's just imagine for a second here. 1 second. It's 5:55. I'm going to turn off my tea because there's no need for me to boil water forever. I make tea, but I don't really add anything to it until it's down to about 126 degrees or whatever it is. It's supposed to be not deadly for living food to increase the temperature past. And I just have spaghetti water tea. It's essentially gluten tea. They sell gluten. I told you that in the video. I have mentioned that before in the videos. The Asian, there's a Hawaiian food store in San Gabriel, near where I live, and they sell gluten in a refrigerator case. It just looks like tofu, but it's gluten. Anyway, I've never bought it though, so I don't know how firm it is. The gluten I have, if you strain the spaghetti out and then save the water, I always use the same water or make tea out of it. I never throw it away because I think it's actually very, very healthy. And it makes good tea. Sometimes I'll add spices to it. It's kind of my new invention for tea. Have whatever the spices I have are basil and oregano and cumin and tarragon. Tarragon? It's not tarragon. I keep thinking it's tarragon. I went through this before on the video, I think. I'm trying to remember the name of that spice. It's a yellow spice. Anyway, and yeah, makes good tea. So I hope you had a happy 4th of July if you're in the U.S. and if you're elsewhere. I hope all is going well in the country you're in. And the U.S. has a lot of wealth in it, and it's because that was stolen from countries that are poor, that had their money supply, that they had, they were complete. The money, if you watch Economic Hitman, it's called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. If you watch that movie, then you understand, and also The Choice is Ours from Roxanne Meadows, then it becomes easy to understand why the world is like it is, why some countries are very, very poor and people are starving and sick and they're being poisoned, to tell the truth. But why is that? It's because people like John Perkins, before he turned whistleblower, of the CIA, but they don't call, when they first discovered it was a CIA person, but then they had to remove those people from the CIA, because if something like that were found out, they wouldn't want to connect to the CIA and the U.S. government and blah blah blah. So they could put a disconnect there. Anyway, but his confessions explain clearly why so many people are suffering in the world, and he explains it's the corporatocracy, but it's something much worse. As you know, the John Ramirez video, which is, he was a Satanist for I don't know how many years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. Anyway, his parents were both Satanists, and yeah, and that explains very well how the world could look like it does today also, because he explains that in the meetings there were chief of police and judges and lawyers and people from all professional walks of life, government, those people were Satanists, and they I don't want to go into explaining the whole thing because it's, he does it much better because he has first-hand experience. So just watch that video if you're interested in finding out why the world looks so bad, and also why we're shown that, why we're shown as if that's some kind of news, that all these evil things are happening as if that's real. It's not real. It's the purported world we're supposed to believe in. We're given to believe in by Satanists and by the devil and his minions. Which now, finally, since Reverend Moon came and revealed the divine principle and lived his life in observance of God's principles of love and goodness, then we have another choice. And this is quickly becoming the only choice. Because God is our creator, and there's no devil in God. Which is great news, of course. Okay, so we're coming right along here. It's 11 minutes right now. And so we are going to get to 100%. Oh yeah, I was asking, what do you think the celebration is going to look like? If you can imagine, no more money. And I mean, if we use money, you just need to go to the bank and withdraw money. You don't have to make money. You don't have to earn money. You just go to the bank and withdraw money. And people do whatever they want. The world, people are not by nature lazy and useless. People are, if a person has ever looked at a child, you'll find that people are pretty much the opposite of lazy and useless. They want to help every moment of their waking hours, and they have more energy than two adults, usually, put together. So, removing money is not going to, Anyway, so the celebration could be very nice. When everybody can do anything they want, they can travel from day one, from January 1st. Let's say heaven, we declare heaven begins on January 1st, 2020. Then everyone can travel anywhere they want for free, can go shopping anywhere they want for free, all the time, for anything they need, and there will be plenty. Can you imagine how much more people will want to go to work, and how much more they'll be excited about producing, because everybody is getting what they need? And we won't be producing things that people don't need, at least for a while. We can produce anything we want, but we'll be focusing on, like I said in my journal, all we need to do to fix the world is focus on the things that people need, and the people that are producing things that are not needed, they're not food and water and actual health care, in other words, making people healthy, not medicine and not surgeries and all those things that endanger people's lives further and actually kill people. But we will be focusing on food, shelter, clean water, free energy, all those things. And then once that's done, clothing, traveling, computers, communication, all our transportation, all those things, half of the people can take their life off. And there will be so much time everybody has free, because it won't take everyone to accomplish all the things that we're doing that are useless. Like, number one, the military. The money we spend on the military, I think it was each year we could solve the hunger problem for the whole world with just the U.S. defense budget. We could feed and we could take care of everyone on Earth. It's some odd billions of dollars. I mean, what is it? The annual expenditure of the U.S. is only like 900 and something billion. So the military, I think, is 40% of that. So that's 3.6 billion. So, if you can imagine how much would it cost to feed, anyway, once we've put our attention to it and realized that the military is the stupidest, that is the devil's number one, that is department number one. It's like Dr. Seuss, this is like that cat orders everything, something number one, number two, number three. Devil department number one is the Defense Department. And it has nothing to do with defense. It's about offense. It's about going around the world and killing people that are in the way and that are in the way of business. In other words, we would never take war to a country if they would just give us all their resources, let us take over their government and their schools and their hospitals. But the World Bank actually wanted it to be worse. They wanted to make them slaves. They would not make that agreement in the first place. Otherwise, they would offer it and just say, well, we're going to kill you all if you don't just do what we tell you. But they had to approach it as if they're doing something good. So they offered them a loan. I'm explaining the video, the 40-minute or so video called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Is you just go to you go to the World Bank is the people that are at the top. This organization was designed to eliminate, for pretty much genocide and to depopulate the earth by 95%. And the way they do that is just go to a country and say, okay, we're going to give you loans and we're going to make your country a beautiful country. And then they can't pay back the loans, because whatever reason the World Bank sets it up that way. And so they say, well, since you can't pay us back, then we'll just sell us your oil companies and your schools and your newspapers and all your roads and all your factories and your water and your food supplying companies and all your utilities. And that's how the World Bank enslaves the world. Okay, I mean the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, they work together. He explains it very well, and there's no secrets about it. He did it for 10 or 15 years or whatever it was, 20 years maybe, I don't know. Because the World Bank and the IMF have been around since the 40s, 50s, I don't know. I forgot. I heard it the other day, but mostly I like to focus on heaven. But since we are establishing heaven this year 100%, then by the end of the year everyone will know we were born for heaven, and this is how it works. And we don't need money, because money is just the ability of one group who prints the money to take away the value of any people, any person or people or the whole population if they wish, which is what's obvious. If you look at countries like Greece or Ireland or Venezuela or so many countries, and especially where they've taken the military in there, the United Nations peacekeeping forces. Anyway, you'd have to listen to Thomas Williams to learn all about what's really going on in the world. And it's really, there's no such thing as conspiracy theory anymore, because if it's a theory, then there's nothing to back it up. Facts have everything to back them up. And it goes a lot deeper, of course. So this year we're creating heaven on earth, and everyone from birth, anyone born January 1st or after, let's say, even though October 14th I think is when we're going to hit 100%, but maybe somehow between October, for the 79 days between then and the end of the year, then everyone on earth will learn about it. All the governments will concede that it's time to eliminate themselves. You know how many of the politicians become politicians? First of all, they start by believing that that's a good thing to do. You can be a hero if you just become a politician. You can lead a country, or it's supposedly from school, from the school thing. Things we learn in the public schools is being a politician means you're a leader. Especially you're the best person because you're leading many good people. But how this is done, how that's transformed into what it is now, where you become a pawn of the globalists, is you get invited, and this is the same thing about actors and famous actors and actresses in Hollywood. They're all, and that's what Jeffrey Epstein and the Lolita Express and his island over there is all about. It's controlled by Satanists, and what they do is they invite their new people to a party, they drug them, and then they video them having sex with a child, or God knows what other thing, and they have control of them for life. It's that easy. And more than half, and I think it's closer to 2/3 of our politicians are all under that Republican, Democrat, that doesn't matter. They want to control everyone, and they do. But since they've lost control of the money, they're having quite a struggle now. And that's on video. I was noticing, watching videos of people buying things cheap at auctions. You know what these are, like government vehicles and all kinds of equipment and stuff. These governments do not have money to pay people anymore. They can't hire people to do their bidding, their evil bidding anymore. So their system is completely falling apart. They're doing their very best to come up with ways to make the post office into a bank, and even though it takes 9 days for things to transfer and to validate, at least they've got some suckers going in there and dumping their money in there, and then they keep thinking of ways, to try and steal money. And of course, the whole thing about, we're going to pay you in Bitcoin, or, the whole Bitcoin thing is controlled by the same people that make the real estate bubbles and the financial bubbles and all these things, and they inevitably pop, and then most of the people, like 99% or more, suffer intensely, and the whole thing starts over again. It's just, that's all they know how to do, pretty much. And so that's why we see such things in history. And and if you listen to Thomas Williams, he has the justification and the proof and the background and the history, and even why the words are named like they are, as far as what we're led to believe is normal for society, normal for humans to do, and something good for the economy or whatever. He doesn't believe in removing the money. I do. To me, it's very clear. But the Manna World Holding Trust is standing with the idea that that we just need to give money to good people and not allow people that have been doing bad things to have any money at all. And that's what's happening. They're stealing the money, but it's all getting back. It's all coming back. They before it's issued to a bank where they have control of it, they can get control of it somehow. The money is returned, and it's done so by computer, because this is not, when people steal money, they're not taking it in gold or in cash, although that's happened a couple times. They try to print, I think I mentioned this on the video before, they had something like 50 or 100 pallets of cash that they had printed with previous numbers. In other words, it was illegitimate cash. It was numbers that never would. The Manna World Holding Trust and the quantum computer system that they have, which nobody can crack, keeps track, has all the track of all the money that's ever been printed and their serial numbers. So if they see a repeat of numbers, and that never gets by. So they got all those pallets of cash back. But most of the time, it's just digital. So, tampering with the computers, they try and write new programs, and it's usually done in the middle of the night. They've got their number down, but these people just they have no other option. They have to keep doing this because it's all they have left. They don't have cash to deal with. And they come from a point of owning and controlling everything. So they are hard to kill. They are hard to die. And I'm not talking about physically killing anybody. I'm talking about they are die-hard evildoers, to put it that way. Yeah, and they're the Manna World Holding Trust, Thomas Williams, and and they've gone dark now. They cannot even make videos anymore because it's getting dangerous for them. So they have stopped. They just are having someone put up their videos that they produce somewhere and send to them, maybe, or I don't know how they're doing it, but July 4th, I think, is the last. Well, they had a couple dailies a few days ago, which I think were made the previous day. Maybe one or two, and that was the end of it. And that's when they said, either that or the day before, they said they're going dark. They are not putting up any more videos for a while, because until it's safe, until they're finished closing out the chapter of the evildoers. So anyway, yeah, and he offers these people. He says, please, let's get together, talk this over, and make a real agreement where everyone can benefit. They're not in the business of making people desperate and, in terrible, in some kind of a desperate situation. But I think the people that have been doing the evil so long are afraid they'll just be murdered. Maybe that's they're fearful of that. I don't know. That's too bad. But that's not the intention of any people in the good world to, if they're uncontrollably doing evil things, then they need to be, captivated somehow. But other than that, let's sit down at a table and work out a deal. But there's been so many deals. That was the previous. That's what happened previous to them saying, they sat down with bankers, and then the bankers never delivered on anything they ever promised. And so instead of giving 50% of the cash from the Manna World Holding Trust to the governments, not the banks, the governments, they decided, well, now we're going to give 80% to the people and 20% to the governments, because there's, obviously governments are not responsible for money, for receiving any value of money, because they're liars and cheaters and thieves. And I'm not talking about 99% of the people that work for government. I'm talking, and who are under the thumb because they're their employer and they pay their paycheck and they want to keep their job. That's pretty much how slaves are made in the new world. We're not on ball and chain, but it's close. If we mess up, we stop obeying our master, our employer, or the government, or whoever, we get hurt. We lose our job or worse. People in the secret positions, like in Hollywood, you sign a thing in blood, and it says, if you tell anybody, we're going to kill you. That's how they work. Okay, I'm not talking necessarily about good people in Hollywood. I have a friend who works for a very well-known movie producer, and that's not his experience. But I think for the most part, it's very obvious. I know people that when they were kids, they worked in Hollywood, but as they become teens, it became so horrible what they were asking them to say and do. They just quit the whole thing. They said, this is ridiculous. It has nothing to do with God and goodness. And these are religious people, so thank God not everyone falls into the trap of, fame and fortune. Form and fatchen. That's a new word, fatchen. 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 There's nothing even rhymes with fatchen. Fate. Chin. What's the fate of my chin? It'll be shaved again. Again. My chin again. Fatchen. Fatchen. So, we have come far. It's 27:43. Oh, 27 again. So, I'm going to close the video right now. This was video 41. Thank you so much for being here. It's heaven at 15%. 85% more will be in the direct dominion. Is it possible? Wait and see. That's only 85 days. That will go by in a hurry. That's less than 3 months. So, stay tuned. Keep watching. Come back. And if not, that's okay. You'll hear it from everywhere very soon. You won't need my videos. You won't need my videos too, because there's a lot of alternative things happening in the works. There's a lot of alternative media happening, news media. As soon as the news media, the mainstream is turned off because they're such incredible liars. And and here again, not every person that works there. More than 99% of the people that work in these organizations that are doing evil in the military and the mainstream media and the government, they're all good people. They just want to feed their children and love their children and have vacations and have a family and feed themselves and have a home and be able to pay their bills. That's it. Life is too good to waste it trying to contrive some evil plan like the globalists do at their Bilderberg meetings. This good people don't do that. People possessed by the devil or tempted by something and that the devil has going for them, against the ways of God, are, obviously very powerful, or have been. They're losing ground quickly. And my heart goes out because we have desperate situations. Kevin Annett is someone you should subscribe to right now. He is the founder of Crimes Against the Abused of Canada, or whatever it's called, and the Crimes Against Church and State. Oh, the Tribunal of Crimes Against Church and State. caused by the crimes of church and state, not against church and state. The tribunal, it's called the ATC. Anyway, his name is Kevin Annett, and he puts up videos. You can't reply to them, or you can reply, actually. It gives you lots of places to act, to be an activist. And he's working very hard at the risk of his life, and people have been killed that are following him because these people are desperate, not for the truth to get out, not to get out. These people that are incredibly guilty of murdering and planning the demise of thousands and thousands of native peoples in Canada. And of course it's the agenda of many people around the world. I'm not talking about many when I talk about, all mankind. I'm talking mankind. When I talk about mankind, I'm talking about only God's children, only people that wish to do God's will, which is to share God's love in a family. These people are more the few, there are many of them if you add them up. Their agenda is to depopulate the world by 95%, and that's what they talk about at their Bilderberg meetings and their meetings in the forest, where they crucify conscience or whatever it's called. Anyway, we have an alternative. We're speaking about it, making it public, making it real in our lives every day, and so everyone will soon have an option and understand by not having to be forced to, go through some horrible indoctrination into lies. That's why we're here, is to create heaven on earth, and we're doing it. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful evening. See you tomorrow, hopefully, and you're the best. God bless you. Good night. Bye-bye for now.